Hello, kindergarten. Welcome back to my home, and welcome back to my library. I'm so happy you've chosen to have story time with me again today because I have a book to share with you that I think is very special. It's the story of a little boy who has a big adventure on the beach. I think the illustrations are very clever. I'm going to hold the cover up so you can take a good look and see what you think. The Castle Builder, story and drawings by Dennis Nolan. Now, did you happen to notice it looks like the illustration is made from a lot of tiny little grains of sand? That's right. The illustrator, Mr. Dennis Nolan, used a pen to make a lot of little dots, and then he connected all those dots together to form a picture. And that picture looks like it's made out of sand, so that when you're reading the story, you actually feel like you're on the beach with Christopher. It's really, really wonderful. So, if you're ready, sit back and get comfortable and listen to me read The Castle Builder. Here's the title page. The Castle Builder, story and drawings by Dennis Nolan. This is going to be the best castle ever, the boy said as he stood his toy on the beach. He filled his bucket with sand, poured it into a pile, and began to form a wall. It will be a giant castle, he said, with big, thick walls and great tall towers. He filled his bucket again and again as the waves gently touched his feet. All morning, he molded the wet sand. He built massive walls around an open courtyard with huge round towers at each corner. Then he added battlements along the top of the walls and narrow windows facing the sea. He kept building until a fantastic castle stood on the beach. At last, he stood in front of the arched doorway and admired his creation. I am Sir Christopher, builder of castles, he proclaimed. His words echoed about the courtyard and vanished over the high towers. Before him stood the many buildings that made up the castle. Turrets and towers pushed their way high into the clouds. Sir Christopher lowered the gates behind him. Safe inside, he said, and he began climbing the stairs. But halfway up to the top, he was startled by a loud roar. He turned to see a giant red dragon running up the stairs behind him. It flapped its leathery wings and made horrible scratching sounds with its long, sharp claws. Puffs of smoke came from its nose, and when it reached Sir Christopher, it hissed and shot fire from its mouth. Sir Christopher ran to the top of the stairs. The dragon roared like thunder and followed him. Sir Christopher stood still, and he stared into the dragon's eyes. "Stop," he commanded. "I am Sir Christopher, builder of castles, and you are under my power." The castle suddenly grew quiet as the dragon stopped roaring and sat down. It swished its long, pointed tail as Sir Christopher announced triumphantly, "I am Sir Christopher, builder of castles and tamer of dragons." Sir Christopher stood at an opening in the battlement and took a deep breath of the sea breeze. He looked down on the waves splashing over the beach and then gazed out over the ocean. A speck appeared on the horizon, a ship sailing rapidly across the water. As it came closer, Sir Christopher could see that it was the ship of the Black Knights, and it was heading straight for the castle. Sir Christopher saw war horses and men in black armor ready for battle. From high atop the wall, he shouted in his loudest voice, "I am Sir Christopher, builder of castles and tamer of dragons, and I command you to retreat." But the ship sailed right to the beach and dropped anchor. The men came crashing through the waves on their great horses. They set ladders against the walls and they began climbing. Sir Christopher's castle was under siege. Before the Black Knights could reach the top of the wall, Sir Christopher called to his dragon. "Stop them," he ordered, and the dragon leaned its long neck over the battlement, roared out its thunder, and breathed a great cloud of smoke and fire. The Black Knights jumped from their ladders in terror. They galloped their horses back to the ship and quickly set sail. Sir Christopher ran down the stairs and out onto the beach. "I am Sir Christopher, builder of castles, tamer of dragons, and conqueror of the Black Knights." He watched as the ship vanished over the horizon. Sir Christopher, the castle defender, marched proudly up and down the beach. Soon, a cold wind began blowing, and the waves grew larger and larger. He ran to the castle as a huge wave rushed across the sand. The dragon let out a fearful cry, spread its wings, and flew into the air. The waves began pounding the castle walls just as Sir Christopher ran inside. The water flooded the courtyard and poured into the rooms. Sir Christopher ran to the highest tower and began climbing. The water followed him up the spiral staircase. Sir Christopher turned and cried out, "I am Sir Christopher, builder of castles, tamer of dragons, and conqueror of the Black Knights. I order you to stop!" But the water continued to splash wildly at his feet and kept rising. Sir Christopher reached the top and stepped out onto the battlement. Giant waves leapt angrily at the tower, soaking Sir Christopher with icy water. He stood at the side, raised his hand, and cried out, "Stop! I am Sir Christopher, builder of castles, tamer of dragons, and conqueror of the Black Knights. I order you to stop!" The ocean roared back with a deafening sound as another mighty wave crashed into the castle. "Help!" he screamed. But Sir Christopher was all alone at the top of the tower. The raging water kept rolling in, each wave bigger than the last. Storm clouds darkened the sky, lightning crackled, and thunder boomed, and suddenly a hand reached down, snatching Sir Christopher into the air. Saved. Just in time, the boy said, as he lifted his toy from the tower. Cold water splashed at his feet and all about the castle as the rising tide moved across the beach. He stood back and watched the waves break over the castle. Walls and battlements fell, and the castle gradually disappeared. When only the towers remained, he put the toy in his bucket and turned to go. "Tomorrow," he said, "I will build an even bigger castle." And he walked down the beach toward home. The end. I love that story so much because it just goes to show that sandcastles may not last forever, but you all have such wonderful and brilliant imaginations that I know that you can keep on using those brilliant and beautiful imaginations to build whatever you want. Kindergarten, thank you so much for reading with me today. And until we read again, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.